What is good? What is happening, everyone? It's your boy Ferris Mathona, and I just want to get on here and tell y'all real quick about our Patreon. Patreon at patreon.com/LGR_network. We got 4 tiers of our Patreon. The dollar tier gets you in the Discord, as well as a Patreon only show, LGR After Snark, as well as we have the $5 tier. It is our pick'ems tier, kind of our reactions tier a little bit. At $5, you get entry into our pick'em leagues during football season, as well as currently we are running a March Madness bracket challenge, which you also be able to get into at the $5 tier, as well as you'll be getting in the next coming weeks in-depth conversations of our show returning of Behind the Curtain, which is in-depth conversations with our LGR team to know more about them. So there's that as well. And lastly, you'll be getting unedited full reactions of our reactions to the shows we watch, like The Mandalorian, Last of Us. We react to them. We don't edit them, and we just release them to the $5 patrons. And we have the $10 tier, which is our family tier. Every time, like I said, those reactions, we watch them with this tier. This is our watch along tier. Um, we watched The Last of Us last night with a bunch of our patrons. We watched The Mandalorian with a bunch of our patrons. And you're in the moment with us, and you watch it with us, and you get everything as well as from that point forward. It is a true it's the family. It's LGR family for a reason, because we are a family, and that's the way we like operating business in a sense. So there's that tier. And then there's this tier. The $15 tier is our executives tier. It dictates content on the show. If you want a Patreon request video like the one you're about to watch right now, it was requested by $15 patron Brennen Marr. He wanted to talk about the top Oscar wins that made you feel good. And me and him will be talking about that in the next coming minutes. So he requested it. This was his one request for the month, and we're going to do it because he is the executive. So shout out to Brennan as well as you can cash in and an appearance on any LGR show once a month, any show, anytime. Well, permitting on the time that works for everybody. So there's that tier. So you are the executives. So again, I just shout out our patrons. Shout out to all our patrons from 1 to 15. We love you guys. We thank you guys. And back to the show. Again, shout out to them. And speaking of those patrons, I'm going to bring on the $15 executive himself, Mr. Brennen Marr. Brendan, how are you, my man?
How you doing, Ferris? Good to see you.
I am doing very well. Brendan, you requested this video, and we're going to do it. We're going to talk Oscar wins. The Oscars just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. Almost swept every big
Swept
award.
it, yeah.
Yep, except leading actor, because they didn't have anyone in the leading actor
Mm-hmm.
category. So it
Yeah.
was moot. But they swept the big ones. They
Mm-hmm.
won original screenplay. They won best director. They won best picture. They won leading actress. Won supporting actress, and they won supporting actor. But now, Brendan, that made you feel good, didn't it, Brendan? Was that a
Mm-hmm.
good night for you? It
Mm-hmm.
was a good night for me as well. I also just want to shout out um someone else. Brendan Fraser. Shout out
Mm-hmm.
to you, man. Love you, Brendan Fraser. So he won an Oscar as well. But Brendan, now let's talk about the Oscars over time that made us feel good.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of ones that made you feel like, yeah, rightfully so?
Okay. Well, I got a couple of runners up.
Okay.
One of them, my favorite movie, the real life person, as you and I discussed,
Hmm.
is a complicated individual. Um, but the movie Lawrence Arabia, the film,
Ah, yes.
winning Best Picture in 1962. It's my favorite film, and I'm very glad it did win.
Hmm.
That was definitely one that I think is up there. Another would be, in particular, now even though Casablanca won Best Picture
Hmm.
in 1943, it also won Best Adapted Screenplay. And the reason why I think I included that one is because it's one of the most quotable screenplays of all time.
That is
Even if
true.
people haven't seen it, they know the quotes.
Hmm.
And so that was one. And then my last runner up would be, well, when Roger Deakins finally won Best
Mm.
Cinematography on his, I think, 14th nomination for Blade Runner 2049 a couple of years ago. And that was a wonderful. wonderful thing to see because I love this guy. And my last runner-up is when Sam Rockwell, my boy Sam Rockwell, won Best Supporting Actor
3 billboards.
for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, playing a very complicated character.
Hmm.
And so those are some of my runners-up.
All right. So Brennan, do you have a top 5? You have a top 5 with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's go with you. Your number 5.
All right, now I got to put them in order.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do you not have an order, or you just have 5?
Well, my top 2 are in order. The others are in no particular order.
All right, doesn't matter.
But
Just the 3 under your top 2, whatever
so
order
I'll
you want
give
to put 'em.
you my number 5 is an interesting one. So we know that Star Wars won 6 Oscars in 1977.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I think is most impressive to me was that it won Best Costumes. And the reason why that makes me very happy is science fiction and fantasy films don't usually win that award. That award goes to these big costume dramas that are usually like in a royal court or some fancy, setting
Mm-hmm.
in the past. But to have this like sci-fi fantasy look made on a shoestring budget win best costumes over these 4 other like period piece films. That really made me happy because I think the costume designer John Molo deserves a lot of credit for giving us some of the look that would define Star Wars.
Absolutely. And also too, like period pieces, they're in their cosmos. They're. I think it's tremendous. I think what they do is amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think trying to create costumes for a science fantasy world is just a tad bit challenging, more
Mm-hmm.
challenging, because you're like you have nothing to base it on. Like you don't.
That's a good
Like
point.
yeah, like that's I'm not saying when costume designers who make period pieces they have an easy job because they
Mm-hmm.
have templates. No. It's still a hard job. I think creating something from scratch is a little bit harder because you're creating a world which you'll see in my 5. One of them is one of the costume designers. So like you're creating a world. It's a world with Jedis and aliens. What are they
Mm-hmm.
wearing? What are you trying to convey? How futuristic do you want to be? Do you want to be like I think that's kind of hard, and I think justifiably so. They won that Oscar in Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
in '77. I think it was justified, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree, and that's a good point. To create something that no one has seen
Mm-hmm.
and make it look as interesting as it did. Get the dichotomy of the good guys and the bad guys, creating the look of the Imperial costumes,
Mm-hmm.
very Nazi-ish. It perfectly captures what George Lucas was trying to create.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, now can I say my number 5?
certainly.
My number 5 is the same as your number 5. It was Ruth Carter for Black Panther.
Yes, yes.
Her winning it for that Oscar.
And now
Um,
she's 2 for 2.
now she's 2 for 2.
She is.
So Black Panther winning it for both 2022 and I think let me see 2018, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, she had to create a futuristic African country, right? It's a country that kind of hid
Mm-hmm.
behind so like she had to like create this country. So she
Mm-hmm.
had African inspirations, right, with
Yes.
the real country, but she also had to like add more futuristic, more advanced clothing because they're not your typical African country. They are the richest country in the world, technically.
Yes.
Just no one knows it because they don't want to tell nobody, justifiably so.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw it in Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
she had to create this world where she had to men like melt real African clothing and like real true roots, and then this marvelistic superhero world, and she just like
Mm-hmm.
kind of created this thing where then like one of like the blankets of I think it's the Nabari tribe. That's the one with Daniel Kaluuya. The blanket was technically a shield. Like their
Yeah.
blankets were shields. The way they decked out the Dora Milaje,
Yep.
the
Oh, that
red
looks
and the
so good.
gold,
So
and
good.
just like kind of like powerful, and it kind of like it was very nice. And then Angela Bassett's royal gowns, just out of this world. Like
Yes.
every single time she
Yes.
wore something, I'm like, damn, just phenomenal. So
Mm-hmm.
she was in charge with that, and Ruth Carter winning for Black Panther. I quite
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed her winning. I quite enjoyed his, like, just like you said with Star Wars in '77, Ruth Carter in 2018 creating this world, and like it was always bright colors. A brightness kept being
Oh
conveyed.
yeah, very
Yeah,
bright.
I mean, it was the gold, the clay red,
Red and
or the
blue and
yeah, and same, like it was just tremendous. And then
mm-hmm.
when they got to the to M'Baku, uh, he was kind of like gray with
Yeah.
brown,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of um, like mountains, trying to juxtapose.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where M'Baku challenges T'Challa to fight. Um, no, I think it was the border. Yeah, so like fight. You have all the tribes, the river tribe, the
Mm-hmm.
border tribe, all the tribes. You had red, you had green, you had blue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like a cascade of colors. It's just
Even
and
some orange and yeah.
orange, and I'm just like, you hit it out of the park, Ruth.
I mean,
Miss
'cause
Carter.
there's
Hats
been a
off to
lot of
you.
discussion lately about a lot of films looking kind of muted colors.
Mm-hmm.
To see a movie where the costumes pop,
Mm-hmm.
where the colors pop, is really good.
Yeah, it's tremendous. I quite enjoy it as well. All right, Brennan.
It's a good
Give me
choice.
another one. Yeah,
It's a
give me
very good
another one,
choice.
Brennan.
And congrats to her for her
Two
second win.
time. Two-time Oscar winner, Ruth Carter.
Yep. Okay. The next one to me, number 4, is actually a tie.
Oh,
One is Best Visual Effects for Jurassic Park, the
nice.
original Jurassic Park,
Yes.
which is tied with F. Murray Abraham
Oh,
winning Best Actor for Amadeus.
oh.
Yes. So I'll start with the visual effects, and the reason I picked Jurassic Park, and the reason why it stands out to me, is of all the visual effects winners, Jurassic Park was the game changer. It was the first film to use CG in an extended amount.
Mm-hmm.
We had seen some CGI in like Terminator, but it was fairly limited. Now Jurassic Park, you have whole scenes with CGI dinosaurs. But the reason why it stands out to me is not only does it demonstrate some of the things that CG is capable of, but it also demonstrates that when you're doing visual effects, you do, I think to get the best visual effects, you do what works for the shot. If it works to have an animatronic, use an animatronic. If it works to have a puppet, if it works to be CG, if it works to be guys in dinosaur suits, do what works for the shot. And that's why I think the visual effect pulled up today. And this year, we're celebrating 30 years of that movie.
Yeah, man.
And the visual effects still hold up because they very wisely use CGI sparingly. And some of the stuff like that T Rex animatronic looks so real. That scene when it's attacking the cars. I mean, you don't doubt it for a second. Um, because they actually built it. And so I think a lot of credit needs to be given to the team that did the visual effects. Dennis Muir and Phil Tippett. and other guys like that, and that's why I think it stands out to me as being one of the great Oscar wins in my mind. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm with you, Brennan, because I've only okay. I'm a full disclosure. I apologize, Brennan. Don't
Mm,
hurt me.
mm,
I have never seen Jurassic Park. Okay,
okay.
but I have seen images and stills from that movie, and the dinosaurs in that movie look like they're in like I don't know. It could be my eyes. It could be other people's eyes. It looked real.
Mm-hmm.
It looked real from the images in my angles and my eyes. The dinosaurs looked like they fit the environment. They didn't look at a place like, oh, that's a computer generated and that's on. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like it fit. And I've read some stories about it. I've never seen, but I've read some stories how they kind of used prosthetics, but then enhanced it with the CG.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know. I don't know if it's a fact. I don't know if my source was correct. I read it in an article back like
Yeah,
a
I'm
couple
not
of years
sure.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they kind of accentuated the prosthetics a little, or they went full CG and sometimes they went full prosthetics, and it looked amazing. This
Mm-hmm.
like I'm gonna be real with you. Some of this, like, I think the one the reason the CG nowadays doesn't look as good as it did back then is CG people had time to
Mm-hmm.
create something good. I go back to, I know this didn't win an Oscar, but I always love bringing it up. Davy Jones and the Pirate of the
Yes,
Caribbean
but it
movies.
did win.
Davy Jones?
Dead Man's Chest did win an Oscar for that.
It did. Nice.
Very, very deservedly so.
Very deservingly so. Because Davy Jones, Bill Nye, looked, them squids
Yeah,
on his
flawless,
face looked
flawless.
amazing. He looked amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, CG people don't have time. You don't give them, you need time.
It's
You
true.
need
They are kind
time.
of pushed to the limit.
Exactly. But you give them time, you know what they give you? They give you Jurassic Park. They give you Davy Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And from the images I've seen of Jurassic Park, tremendous. Just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I will watch it, Brendan. I will watch it.
Yeah.
But from the images of me seeing it, it's quite off the hook. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It's really
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Steven Spielberg. That's why people call him the greatest director of all time, because the man be hitting, and when the man hits, and he hits high, and you're just like, whoa, that's pretty nice. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay. And then the other
Amadeus,
guy.
Brendan. Why Amadeus?
Well, I think that not only is it one of my favorite movies, but I think the fact that the guy who played Mozart and the guy who played Salieri were both nominated for Best Actor.
Mm-hmm.
After Adrian won for playing Salieri, he is so brilliant in the role as this vengeful guy who's angry at God for giving talent to Mozart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, it's interesting, in real life, we know that this is not how it really went down, but the story is being told from the point of view of the crazy old man. So the facts, might be fudged because it's his perspective. But I think that just the glee that Murray Abraham has as Salieri, just how much he's enjoying the evil plotting that he's planning
Mm-hmm.
while keeping a friendly face on the outside, it's, I think, absolutely brilliant. Just how he plays that role in just such a villain enjoying his evilness kind of way. And I just absolutely love that.
That's tremendous, Brendan. Pretty
Hmm.
pretty dope. Pretty dope.
Yep.
Um,
And if anyone's listening hasn't watched the movie, go watch it.
yeah. Bedore loves Amadeus, I think.
Hmm.
I think that's one of her favorite films, actually.
It's a good
So
choice.
it's a good choice. My fourth one is Leonardo DiCaprio finally winning Best Actor and finally
Ah,
winning an Oscar
yep.
for The
And the
Revenant.
Revenant. Yeah.
Not because, I'm a big fan of The Revenant. I like The Revenant.
Yeah.
You're gonna find out. 2016 was a very big year. The 2015 Oscars, the 88th Oscars is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna show up a lot more on this list. Trust me. Just give me a minute.
It's a good year.
It's a great year in my opinion. But him winning for The Revenant
Mm-hmm.
and what like, because personally with me, here's what I think he should have already had like 3 to 4 Oscars already. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think he should have won for The Departed. Yeah,
And the fact he wasn't nominated was
the
kind of
fact that he
strange
wasn't nominated was
because he
egregious.
was so good in that movie.
Yeah, he should have won for um he should have won Best Supporting for Django, in my
Yes, and he
opinion,
didn't get nominated
and he
either.
didn't get nominated either.
And
And
you're
then he should
absolutely
have,
right. He should have.
yeah. No offense to Christoph Waltz, I'm a big fan of
Yeah,
you,
no
but
offense. No.
yeah, no offense, but Leonardo DiCaprio ate everybody up.
I mean, Leo was stealing the show as soon as he showed up.
Yes. And then I think he should have won for Wolf of Wall Street. So he should have
Yeah,
already
so
had
he was
3.
up against some hard competition that year.
Wolf of Wall Street, I think,
Well,
yeah,
he was up against McConaughey and Dallas Steyer's Pud, so
yeah, that was kind of the biggest
it
hurdle.
was a tough year.
It's a tough year. But so two, I
Yeah,
think he should have won 2 at least, maybe 3,
and get
and then this would have been,
nominated for those that he didn't get nominated
yeah,
for.
personally. But just finally, like, I'm happy for him. He's one of my favorite actors of all
Mm-hmm.
time. It's him and Denzel. They're my guys.
Oh yeah.
Like, trust me, Denzel's gonna show up in a minute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he will. Trust me. I just, you know, him having to get almost ripped apart by a bear, him eating a liver, him having to like drag himself through the snow
Mm-hmm.
of allegedly Montana, but it was really Canada, and him, just throwing himself to the wind, and just seeing him finally win one. I was kind of happy. So Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant was tremendous. I also think The Revenant is a pretty great movie. Alejandro
Maybe.
Inarritu won Best
Maybe.
Actor as well, so it was pretty
Yes,
nice.
he did.
Yeah.
Maybe Amy Adams needs to eat a
Yep.
a
She probably
horse
needs to eat a
liver and then
liver.
win an Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we may I think she, with her it's pretty bad. It's hers is pretty egregious. I'm not gonna lie to you. The Amy Adams not winning, it hurts. It hurts. She
Yeah,
should have
it
been
does.
nominated for Arrival. Her
Yeah, I
in
absolutely
Arrival.
agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Amy Adams. What about
Yeah.
you, Brendan? What else is on your list?
Okay, my number 3. Steven Spielberg winning Best Director for Schindler's List.
Oh, nice one. That's a good one. That's a good
He
one.
also won Best Director of Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
I
She
think
did.
of the two films, I think Schindler's List represents the best work he has ever done. And up to that point, he'd been nominated a few times.
Mm-hmm.
He'd also been not nominated a few times, which is he didn't get nominated for Jaws, which makes no sense to me. Didn't get nominated for The Color of Purple, but he had been nominated for Close Encounters
Of the Third
of
Kind.
the
Yeah.
Lost Ark
Mm-hmm.
and E.T. And so he finally wins, and I think rightly so. And I think that what's cool is he donated all the money he made to Holocaust charities. He didn't keep any of that money, and that's pretty cool. But also just the fact that it was his best work, I think. It was maybe the most difficult of his films to watch because it is very uncomfortable.
Yep. I had to
He,
watch it in high school.
he pulled no punches. Like if somebody killed somebody, they like walked right up to him and shot him in the head. Full on camera, no cutting. And so we get this brilliant film. And finally, after all this hard work that he had done, he finally wins the Academy Award for Best Director. And that year, he made Schindler's List and Jurassic Park in the same year. So he took a break for 4 years after that before directing anything. And I think I can understand that, but watching that acceptance speech, the emotion that Spielberg is having in that moment is just it's just so moving. And the movie itself is very moving and an absolutely essential part of film. And so him winning was just remains to me to this day the greatest moment of a director winning Best Director ever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, Brandon, I'm gonna cheat a little. I'm gonna cheat a little for my number three.
But
It's
you
kind
got
of
any
some.
thoughts about the Schindler's List thing?
No, no. So
Any thoughts about that win?
no, I loved it. It was a great story. It's a very hard movie to watch. I'm not gonna lie to
It
you. I
is.
agree with
It
you on
is.
that one. I had to watch it, I'm not gonna lie to you. I still haven't finished it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's
It's a tough one, yeah.
it's a tough one, but you need to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of it's a movie, and some stuff may be real, some stuff may be a little exaggerated. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
because history is history, and so a
For the
movie is
most
a
part,
movie.
it's pretty accurate.
It's pretty accurate, but just seeing the horrors of
Mm-hmm.
it, and I think the story is that um one of his relatives was with Oscar Schindler, I think.
He actually met a guy who, well, the story is that one of the guys who got saved by Schindler
Mm-hmm.
was named
Yes.
Ulrich Pfefferberg, and he's a character in the movie. Anyhow, later in like the 80s, he told his story to a guy named Thomas Keneally, and Keneally wrote the book of it called Schindler's Ark,
Mm-hmm.
which told the story of Oscar Schindler.
Yes.
Somebody gave that book to Steven Spielberg and said this would make a great movie,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
they adapted it into Schindler's List.
Okay, that's pretty nice. That's pretty
But,
awesome.
but Spielberg did have relatives who survived the Holocaust,
Okay, so he did have relatives,
so
not
he
just
did have a connection there.
yeah, he did have connection. So yeah, also too, like the movie kind of ends, and like when the movie ends, like the movie ends, and then
Hmm.
it becomes like real life. I saw that scene.
Yeah, the real life footage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the real life footage of them. I think they're in a graveyard.
they're all visiting his grave. Yeah,
They're all visiting his grave. That was pretty amazing. And
that's pretty moving. Yeah.
yeah, and Steven Spielberg, he's the goat. He's
Hmm.
the goat, man. He's the goat. He when he all of his movies, even the ones you don't like, all of them are
Hmm.
directed very well.
It's true.
They're all directed very well. You may not like the movie for other reasons, but you never be like, you know what? I don't like the movie because it's not directed very well. That
Hmm.
never happens. He's a director for a reason. He directs it very well. That's why he's the GOAT. That's why he's the GOAT.
Exactly.
And I'm a big fan of Steven Spielberg, even though I haven't watched a lot of Steven Spielberg movies.
His
But
legacy certainly, we all
yes,
know it.
exactly. Exactly. All right. Now for me, my third, I'm gonna cheat a little, Brendan. It's it's kind of a span of a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
The span of a couple of years from 2013 to 2018. The best director
Hmm.
was Mexican,
That's true. It's very true.
except 1 year in 2016. So in
Hmm.
2013, Alfonso Cuarón won his first Oscar. And
Hmm.
then the following year, Alejandro Gonzalo Iñárritu won his first Oscar.
Yep.
Then Iñárritu came back and won a second one. Then it was
Hmm.
Damien Chazelle. Shout out to you, Damien. Then it
Yep.
was Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water. Then it was Alfonso Cuarón for Roma. The reason I
Hmm.
say this is the Oscars are for movies, right?
Hmm.
Movies. The Oscars, movies don't just exist in America. Some of these people made their movies in America, like Birdman, The Revenant, and
Hmm.
Gravity, and The Shape of Water. But the 2018 victory for Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, it was a
Hmm.
story about Mexico and him telling such a beautiful story about the maid. And
Hmm.
I haven't watched it in a couple years, so I kind of forgotten a little about it, but I always remember the feeling. I may not
Mm,
remember the movie, but I always remember the feeling that they gave me. Roma
mm,
gave me a feeling of just I just sat there looking at it like tremendous. And then I started looking back and I realized from 2013 to 2018, it was one of those three directors who won Best Director except 1 year.
yep,
The Three
it
Amigos
was.
is what they like to being called. The Three Amigos.
The Three Amigos.
Yes.
Mhm,
And seeing people tell stories from them, they tell a story. And it's
mhm,
just like a director where like you think like like some white dude, you know what I mean? I'm like, or like some like it's a group of people kind of on the outskirts, Latinos,
mhm,
especially in their case, Mexican.
mm,
They're kind of put on the back burner. Like, like stories by them, stories created by them? Do they matter? You know,
yeah,
and Alfonso made a movie about space. Cool.
yep,
Alejandro made a movie about an actor who was a former superhero, but now he doesn't want to be a superhero in
yep,
Birdman. And then
mhm.
Alejandro made one about it was a Revenant
Yeah,
and
revenge
like
story. Yeah.
revenge story. And then Guillermo del Toro made a love story,
Mhm,
with the deaf woman and Doug Jones, and it was tremendous. And then it gets capped off in 2018 by Alfonso Cuarón.
mhm.
Caron.
Caught on. Yeah.
What? Yep. It's a story made by a Mexican about Mexico, and it's just a beautiful story. It gave
Yeah.
me the feeling that I had in 2018 when I saw the years. I'm like, wait, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18.
Mhm,
Whoa, that I had a great feeling because I grew up in the Central Valley in California
mhm,
when I moved here to America. So I was around Mexican culture um
mhm,
a lot growing up, and I have a great appreciation for them. Um and seeing that, it was just the possibilities
mhm.
are are endless. In Roma, just
Yep.
amazing.
Mhm,
As she's indigenous. It's in the 70s.
mhm,
She's a housekeeper for a rich upper class family.
mhm.
Um, it's kind of his life. Seeing, it's kind of he kind of said it's semi autobiographical. So there are pieces of him
Yep.
and his life in the film, and he gave us himself on screen. If you think about it, so
It's true.
that was like, I know it was actually instead of one Oscar victory, it was a lot of Oscar victories
Mm,
culminating in 2018. That victory where I was like, bravo,
yeah.
bravo,
What a time period it
what a
was.
time period.
That was really exciting because I think it was in 2013 we started to see the Academy be more into non-traditional films.
Hmm.
Like up to that point, the there was kind of a formula to Best Picture winners, and then in 2013 well, not just Best Picture, but with Best Picture, Best Director, you saw in 2013 them start to change what films actually won, and so now films that otherwise would never have had a chance to win, now they are, like Everything Everywhere All at Once last night. I don't think a film like that could have won 30 years ago.
Absolutely not.
It's too different, too weird for the Academy. But now they're starting to embrace films that break that. And those years you mentioned were years where the mold got broken. Yeah. So good choice.
Thank you, Brennan. Appreciate it. All right, so Brennan, you're number two.
Well, this one, it sort of goes without saying. It's Heath Ledger winning for The Dark Knight. That was not a surprise. Everybody knew that was going to happen. I can't think of very many times where an Oscar has been more deserved because the performance is one of the best I think we've ever seen on screen, not just in terms of greatest movie villains, but greatest performances I think we've ever seen. And I think that even though, it's sad what happened, his legacy will always be with us in that incredible performance, which made that movie, which I would argue it's already a good movie as it is. You add Heath Ledger's Joker in there, and it's a masterpiece. And so I think that that performance and that win was absolutely deserved. And I think everybody who watched the Oscars that year felt a sense of catharsis when his family accepted that award. But as far as just the performance goes, I think it's one of the finest we've ever seen on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was man, like I joke about the Dark Knight. I don't call it the Dark Knight, I call it the Joker because the Joker steals the show.
He
It's the
does.
Joker's movie from start to finish. From like legit, like people like legitimately from start to finish, it's the Joker's film.
Mm-hmm.
The bank robbing scene right away, to the end, and Heath Ledger just eats the screen up, man. He
Mm-hmm.
just tears it up,
Mm-hmm.
just rips it apart, throws it away. You didn't want to be in a scene with him because like people will be like, yo, man, you may be going 100% in that scene. But then
Mm-hmm.
Heath Ledger shows up and just murders it. And you're like, dang.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where he disappears the pen.
Oh yes.
The
Yes.
scene where he says, I loved it at the end where he's dangling, he's just
Mm-hmm.
dangling. He's like, oh, here we go again.
Madness is like gravity. All it takes is a
It's
little
a
push.
little push. And it's always like, you are the immovable object, and I am the unstoppable force. We
Mm-hmm.
will be together forever. And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, this is good. Because and at the end, the Joker wins, if you think about it, because Aaron
Yes, he does.
Eckhart
Yes, he does.
goes crazy and
Goes
he ends
crazy.
up dying, but then he makes the Batman the villain
The fall
by
guy.
having them
Yeah.
tell the lie that he killed Harvey Dent.
And
So
all those
in the
other
end,
people too.
yes, so in the end, the Joker always wins. He
Mm-hmm.
won.
He
He
did.
won.
And that it's absolutely brilliant that
Mm-hmm.
the screenplay went in that direction.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, I could not think of it was difficult for me to decide everything below my number two, but my one and two, number one and number two were easy to get to pick. And this one was, yeah, the Heath Ledger. I mean, amazing. Rest in power.
Yeah. All right. My number two is Denzel Washington
Ah,
winning for Best Actor
mm-hmm.
for Training Day.
Training Day.
Because not because he won it, right? Not because he won it for Training Day. Kind of just like what happened with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think he should have won it for Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
He lost to Al Pacino in
Yeah,
Scent of a Woman.
I think I agree.
For some odd apparent reason, Al
I
Pacino in
mean,
Scent of a Woman
it's
won.
a good movie, but not Al's finest
I,
work.
I quite enjoy that. I like Scent of a Woman.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
It's good, but it ain't Malcolm X.
No,
That's all I
no,
have to say.
Malcolm X is on another level.
Exactly. So there was that. He did lose out to Kevin Spacey in American
Mm.
Beauty 2000 for Best Actor. You know,
And the Hurricane, yeah.
works for the Hurricane. Uh, but Training Day, him winning it, it was kind of like, hey, my bad, dog. We sorry. We sorry. Here's your Oscar. we
Mhm.
sorry about that. He's like, yeah, you should be sorry.
That happens
That
sometimes.
happens a lot. It happens a lot. It happened with Martin Scorsese a lot.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
Um, but Denzel winning one, knowing that Denzel Washington, I can say, oh, that's Oscar winning Denzel Washington to you,
Yep,
Mister. You
mister.
know,
Mhm.
two time, two time, one for
Yes,
supporting,
2
one for
times. That's
acting.
right, The Glory.
Yeah,
Yes.
for Glory. That's two-time Oscar winner. I love him in Glory.
Y You know what was
But
special about that night that he won?
yeah.
They gave Sidney Poitier the honorary Oscar.
Hmm.
That's the guy who inspired Denzel to become an actor. So on the same night, they were
Yep.
both there getting
As
awards.
well as so
Mhm.
also too, Brennan, you say that was also the same year Halle Berry won
Halle
Best
Berry.
Actress.
Halle Berry,
Yes.
yes.
So it was a tremendous moment. It was a
Yes, it was.
tremendous moment all around. But in my opinion, though, he was great in Training Day. Like here's the thing, I love Denzel Washington in Training Day personally. Like
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love him. Um, like as Detective Alonzo Harris,
Mhm.
he murders the movie. Technically, is about Ethan Hawke. He's technically the
Yeah,
movie's about
that's
him.
true. That's true.
But Denzel Washington was like, no, it's not anymore,
Mhm.
not anymore. And people were like, I agree, not anymore.
Mhm.
And he, the the scene in the diner
Mhm.
where he tells Ethan Hawke to stop interrupting him while he reads his paper. If you're gonna interrupt me, entertain me.
Mhm.
Um, the end scene where he's cussing out the entire neighborhood.
Mhm.
The scene at the house they're technically robbing. There's that scene. Um, the movie's a great. I love Training Day. It's a great movie. The scene with the three Mexican homies who were about to kill Ethan Hawke, but he was saved by one of the homies' nieces because Ethan Hawke protected her from getting raped in the alley. A couple in the earlier scenes. It was just a trend. It was a tremendous movie. But Malcolm X was,
Mhm.
by God,
Yep.
one of the best movies I have ever watched ever.
Yep.
And Denzel Washington plays that man amazingly.
Yes. Yeah,
The
I saw the
evolution of him.
film for the first time last year,
Oh my Brendan, it's
and it
amazing.
completely blew me away.
It's amazing. Brendan, I sit here a lot, and I like me. I'm 3 hour movies. Some
Mhm.
of them don't do it for me, right? They don't do it for
It's
me.
true. It's true.
Yeah, because they're not paced very well.
Yeah.
You need to pace it well. Denzel, what? Malcolm X is like 3 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah. Very long.
It's very long. It's a very long movie.
Mhm.
I couldn't leave. I was on the edge of
Yep.
my seat
And
from start to
Spike Lee, I
finish.
mean, is a genius.
Yeah. It showed us Malcolm X being a drug dealer. It showed us
Yep.
his incarceration.
Mhm.
It showed us his evolution in the NOI, his pilgrimage to Mecca and the way he changed.
And they
At one
changed it. Yeah.
at one point, it got to the point where like it's like the famous one of the famous photos of like they kind of like used the film it was kind of like grainy footage, kind of like a old school filmer. So like when
Mhm.
Denzel Washington finally won the Oscar for Training Day, it was basically them saying, "Sorry about that,
Sorry about that. Yeah.
my bad,"
Mhm.
and that made me happy because Denzel Washington is one of the greatest actors to grace God's green earth.
Yeah.
He's one
I
of my
absolutely
favorite
agree.
actors of all time. I have never seen a Denzel Washington movie and said that wasn't a good movie.
Mhm.
I've apparently there is one, but apparently I will never watch it.
I wonder what
um,
that would be. Mhm.
Someone told me it was Serenity, Sir something. What is it? I don't remember. What the hell?
Serendipity?
Is it Serendipity? I think.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know either.
I mean, Gus the man can even do Shakespeare well.
Oh, tremendous,
Yeah,
tremendous.
like
He's a
that.
theater actor too.
Yeah, he
So
is.
he was a theater actor in Mount Vernon in New York at Fordham, and then
Mhm.
he just kind of like just became, you know what? I'm gonna be the greatest actor of all time, guys.
Yep. Yep,
So
indeed.
that was a special that was a finding out that he won that for Training Day. I was young. I didn't really watch the Oscars a lot growing up.
Mm.
I'm starting to do it now as I got older. But knowing that I can look back in history and say he is a leading man Oscar winner.
Yes, he is.
That Denzel Washington's my guy.
Indeed.
Mhm.
What a excellent choice. Excellent choice.
He's also a great director too. He's directed
Yeah,
some
he
good stuff.
is.
He's directed Antoine Fisher. All right, now
Yep.
Brennan,
Ah.
you're number one, my man.
Okay, drum roll, please. Thank you. All right, this is a big one. Anthony Hopkins for The Silence of the Lambs.
Ooh, nice one,
I
Brennan.
think
Nice
possibly the
one.
greatest performance ever on screen, possibly. Um, by a classically trained actor, Shakespearean level actor, Anthony Hopkins, in really his first major role in America.
Mm-hmm.
And he only appeared a short bit in the movie. But he looms large in the movie. His presence sort of just like lingers over the whole film. And playing this diabolical character who is so horrible yet so genteel, so gentlemanly almost,
Mm-hmm.
and just absolutely terrifying individual. And we also got to give a shout out to Jodie Foster's Clarice Starling,
Oh, tremendous.
who also won an Oscar for that, and basically going toe to toe with this great British actor. So when Anthony Hopkins won that, I mean, that's one of the Oscar clips that I go back and watch a lot. It's him winning, and in real life, he's such a cool, kind of kooky, humble guy playing this complete fiend in one of the most captivating performances, where every moment he is on screen, you are riveted to him. You hang on like every word he says.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he says things, the way he delivers his line, are so captivating that the movie it's a Best Picture winner for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
He's Best Actor for a reason. It's also won the Oscar Grand Slam for a reason. Only 3 films in history have won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay. Silence of the Lambs was the third one to do that. And Anthony Hopkins is probably my favorite living actor right now. And that performance will always rank among the best performances ever given on screen. Yeah.
I agree with you, Brennan. I watched Silence of the Lambs. I trolled Justin because this is one of his favorite films. There's one thing I trolled Justin about in this movie that I honestly kind of irritates me a little, but I overall think, but one thing shouldn't ruin a film, in my opinion.
The Buffalo Bill stuff.
It's the okay. You turn off the lights, and you didn't have the gun already cocked.
Oh, that scene. Yeah.
So like he cocked his gun and then it gave away his position. Then she shot him. But like, wouldn't you already have the gun cocked when she's
I guess he
down
thought he
there?
was playing with her. I don't know.
Yeah. So like trust me, when Justin watches this video, he's gonna get mad at me. He's gonna be like, "See, we've had this argument. Da, 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 da. Like me and him have had this argument 4 times, and we will never agree, ever."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is.
It's movies. We can disagree about movies.
Yeah,
It's
true.
fine. But overall, I love this movie. Anthony Hopkins, when he shows up, it's the man chews up scenery like it's nothing. He's threatening to eat you, but he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna snack on your arm. It's phenomenal." And you're like, "What? What?" It's like a good Chianti with some fava beans, and you're like, "Oh, dude." He creeps me out. Anthony Hopkins creeps me out. He creeps me out. He may be a wonderful dude, maybe a wonderful man, but I don't want to talk to him. He
Mhm.
creeps me out. He creeped me out in Silence of the Lambs. He creeped me out in that TV show Westworld. The man
Westworld, yeah.
creepy. The man is creepy, and he plays creepy very well. And
Mhm.
I'm just scared if I ever like met him and I fell asleep, he would like just chop off a piece of my elbow and eat it. Like
Mm.
that's how awesome he was in this role. Like
Mhm.
like I'm kind of like every time I see him, I just kind of like scramble. I'm like, Anthony Hopkins, because
Mhm.
he played it so well. He's also too. I think one of the records is he won the. He is the only director the only actor to win Best Actor in a movie when he was like less than like 20 minutes or 30
Mhm.
minutes of it.
Mhm.
Like he was only in the movie for like 20 minutes, and you're like, oh, he was.
Yep.
And then me thinking about Silence of the Lambs, I'm like, oh, Anthony Hopkins was in the movie from start to finish, right?
Mhm.
No, he showed up for like 20 minutes and then was over.
Mhm.
That was it. And you're like, wow, that's how impactful that performance was.
Mhm.
The 20 minutes just is everywhere. And good on you for Anthony Hopkins, man.
Mhm.
Anthony Hopkins, shout out to you, man. Shout out to you, Anthony Hopkins.
Two-time Oscar winner, Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Two-time Oscar winner, Anthony Hopkins, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Brendan, my last one.
Ah.
It's a year, and it's a movie.
Oh, okay.
It was 2016, the 80th Oscars. Like I said, the same one Leonardo DiCaprio won his Oscar,
Mhm.
but it was seeing Mad Max Fury Road
Mm.
win almost everything.
Almost everything. Yes.
Almost everything. But it didn't win Best Picture. Personally, I think it should have won Best Picture.
Yeah, that was
It didn't win
Spotlight.
Best. Yeah, it didn't win Best Director because that went to Alejandro.
Mhm.
Personally, I like both of the films, but
Yeah, it's true.
I like Mad Max a little bit better. So I think
Mhm.
George Miller should have also won that. Cinematography, it lost to The Revenant as well. So The
Yep.
Revenant,
That one-shot
but
thing.
seeing those dudes and women who you don't know,
Mhm.
who you don't talk about, who you don't really give a second mind to.
Mhm.
The costume designer, Jenny
Oh gosh.
Bevan, the
Yeah.
film editor, Margaret Sexel,
Mhm.
the makeup and hairstyling team, Leslie Vanderwalt,
Oh, the
Erica,
makeup was really good. Yeah.
Damian Martin, Elka Vardiga. Sorry, I'm sorry for messing up your name. The production designer,
Mhm.
Colin Gibson, Lisa Thompson, the sound editor, Marcus Mangini and
I
David
mean, the
White.
movie, what a wild ride the movie
Yeah,
is.
best sound mixing, Chris Jenkins, Greg Rudolph, and John Osmo.
Mhm.
They made the movie because
Mhm.
there's not a lot of dialogue in the movie.
No,
Not a lot.
Netflix films are very quiet.
Yeah, it's a very, but there was a
Or
lot of,
quiet in the dialogue.
yeah, it was light on the dialogue, but there was a lot of sound, a
Mhm.
lot of noise, a lot of conveying emotions through body and audio, like and visual, and them winning everything. Funny story, by the way.
Mhm.
The costume designer, I believe it was her. I believe it was her. They almost didn't allow her in the Oscars
Mm.
because they thought she was homeless. They thought she was some rando because she
Mm.
was dressed in the garb of the movie.
Mm.
The costume the costumes that she just won that she was about to win the Oscar for, she
Mhm.
was dressed in it. It was like chains and boots and combat boots and like a leather jacket, and she was
Mhm.
just like, "What's good, homie?" Like it was,
Uh-huh.
and they almost didn't allow her in until one of the people from the movie said, "No, that's our costume designer, Jenny."
Mhm.
You and then people are like, "Oh, my bad," and then they let her in, and then there's photos of her and just seeing that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mhm.
Top five, man, almost. Not even almost top five. I love that
Mhm.
movie. I
Mhm.
own it. I own the black and white one, and I also own the other one, the original one.
Mhm.
And Tom Hardy says nothing, but
Mhm.
says a lot. Charlize Theron showed you what an action star she is.
Mhm. Mhm.
She was off the Nicholas Holt
Mhm.
loved him. You know,
Nicholas
and
Holt can do no wrong, I swear.
literally, and my people be like, oh man, but like those wives, you know, they don't really do much. I was like, yeah, because they were just used as
Yeah, they were being used as breeding.
breeders. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they are. They weren't like, you
You know,
know,
the bad guy was just using them as his livestock. I mean,
exactly. But you know, Rosie Huntington Whitley, she was tremendous in her
hmm
in the scenes where she was pretty awesome. And then some of the other wives, they brought out personality. Like one of them like threatened to stab Tom Hardy in the face. She's like, get
hmm
near me, and she like hissed at him. She's like, you know what I mean? And she like hissed at him. Zoe
Yep,
Kravitz is in the movie. Like
yep,
Zoe Kravitz is in
that's
this
right.
movie,
Joey.
and I loved every piece of this movie, and just seeing the people that you count out. You no, you don't count out. You don't talk about. You
hmm
don't really give to mind the above the line Oscars and the below the line Oscars. I
Yeah,
found that out last
love
night.
and line are just as important.
Below the liners are just as important
hmm
because if the sound don't sound good, if the costume designs are not cool, if the aesthetics of the movie
The
doesn't
editing is
grab
bad,
you, the editing is bad. You don't care.
then it's not a good movie.
You're not gonna, it's not yeah, exactly, Brendan. It's not a good movie. So seeing them get up off their seat, and then like I think a couple years after that, they tried to like not show those
Yeah,
awards.
last year they did it during the commercials.
Yet that was egregious.
Yeah, it's like you don't move Hans Zimmer to the commercials,
No, you don't. You don't. 'Cause people like
or Roger
score.
Deakins, or any of those guys.
And that and but seeing them I think it was Mark Mangini. One of them got up and like was screaming. He was like, oh my god, I have an Oscar, oh my god. And
hmm
he's like screaming. He's like they're like tripping. They're hyperventilating. They're like, oh my god, we're Oscar
hmm
winners, we won an Oscar. Rightfully so. You just made one of the greatest movies of all time,
hmm
and probably the greatest movie of all time. Techno- technically speaking, like not like technically like like the sound, the mixing,
hmm
you
hmm
know, like that, like the sound you created, the
Yeah.
engines, the rock operas, like the motorbikes. Good.
hmm
That right, that hit my heart, Brendan.
Yeah.
That hit my heart.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yet again, who would have thought a sequel made, I don't know, 30 years after the original
Would it be better?
would have been just as, yeah, would have been
Yeah,
better.
better, um, more impactful. I think no, not like impactful like pop culture. It's like movie technically, like movie making technically, like the
hmm
technical aspect of movie making.
hmm
It's extremely impactful. I think, in my opinion. If I'm
Yeah, I
wrong,
think I agree.
yeah, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not here. I'm not saying I'm a movie buff. I'm a movie expert. No, I'm a fan who loves movies and sees something that was tremendous. Like just seeing them just get excited, man.
Yeah.
People like those are the dudes who
hmm
and women who are working hours upon hours before the movie even starts, like before shooting starts. Before shooting starts, and then they're like the costume designer, the set designer,
hmm
like they like hair and makeup, and then in the movie, hair and makeup stylists, they got to do it fast, and they got to do it
hmm
proper, and then you have the editing people, the sound mixing people who are doing like who have to then have hours after the movie's in the can, and then you got to edit and move everything around and try to fit, like it's just amazing. It's amazing,
hmm
Brendan. All right, Brendan, it's a great video you requested, my man. You got
hmm
me. You got me hyped. You got me hyped, Brendan. Got me
Yep.
reliving. Got me reliving moments that I
Last
loved
month,
during the
last month
Oscars.
was really fun. This month is really fun.
Absolutely. So, Brendan, where can people
hmm
find you, my man?
You can all find me on Twitter at Brennen Mystical. You can also follow my podcast on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts
Mm-hmm.
at Page Turners They Were Not. And you can also find me on Instagram at Brennan Blue. And here, hanging out with the Let's Get Ready crew.
Thank you, Brendan. Guys, you can find me at Fast Malone on Twitter. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 150 subscribers,
hmm
850 subscribers. We're at
hmm
821. So, 29 left. So
Come on in and give us some love.
Yeah, come on, give some love. And also too, like if you want your own video, your own Patreon request video, join the Patreon, patreon.com/LGR_network. 4 tiers, the $1, the $5, the $10, the $15. I already broke it down earlier. This is the $15 tier. You are the executive. You dictate content on the show. You are the reason we are here. Brennen Marr is the reason we made this video, because he technically is our boss, if you think about it. But on that note, everyone, you have a wonderful night. Stay safe. I hope everyone. So stay safe, everyone. Have a nice night.
See y'all.
Shout out to our patrons. Shout out to our patrons.
Shout out.